Wave of cybercrime is hitting U.S. hospitals. That from the FBI and 2 other federal agencies. Look at this. Hackers targeting our healthcare system, stealing private data and holding it for ransom. So far, 5 hospitals. Security experts warn hundreds more under threat. This is happening as new research from J.P. Morgan shows ransomware attacks cost the U.S. economy $7.5 billion last year alone. And as some hospitals are already pushed to the brink by COVID. CNBC's Eamon Javers on the latest threat. Eamon?
Yeah, Shep, you know, the experts are saying that this has been one of the worst years ever, if not the worst year ever, for ransomware, and that this particular group out of Eastern Europe affects its users and then charges them about $1 million or $10 million in order to get that data back. Now, ransomware, you should know, is a type of cyber attack in which the hacker actually locks up your data and then charges you a fee, often in Bitcoin, to get that data back. Now, so far, victims of these types of attacks have included hospital systems in Vermont, New York, and Oregon. The damage inside these facilities can be devastating.
Hospitals have to rely on paper-based methods to provide care to patients. It's very hard for hospitals, for caregivers to figure out how much medicine do they need to give to a patient because they can't look it up in the system. They can't look up what their allergies are or perhaps how much medication they provided to them a few hours ago.
Now, here's a real example of a ransomware email that the folks over at the cybersecurity firm FireEye shared with us. You'll see it looks just like a normal attachment that's shared between coworkers, prompting the recipient to click on a link. But when you do click on that link, now that's when the trouble starts. Now, the real difficulty here for companies is the decision about whether or not to pay this ransom. The U.S. government advises companies not to pay the ransom, and they say in some cases it can actually be illegal to do that. But companies need this data, particularly hospitals where this can be a matter of life and death. So companies are paying these ransoms in droves, and the hackers, Shep, are making millions of dollars.
Eamon, does the government have any idea who's doing this?
You know, they do. And just last week, we saw an indictment by the Department of Justice of 6 Russian intelligence officials. They actually named the individual Russians whose fingers were on the keyboards during cyber attacks. One of the attacks was very similar to this, a hospital in western Pennsylvania where computers that control things like cardiology and surgery was badly hit. But even so, even with the U.S. government knowing all this, the hackers are making a lot of money. Some experts told me today they saw profits in Romania turning up, and they saw that the hackers were actually building an entire development full of McMansions. So there's a lot of money pumping out the other end of this scam.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.